Hey, thanks for dropping in. As that very festive opening said, today I'll be making a delicious soup out of these white button mushrooms. I've got a pretty big one here, a more normal sized one here, another big guy here. Pardon me for a second. There, that's better. Just had to turn the music down. Now, let me move these out of the way and jostle the camera while I'm at it. Sorry about that. Anyways, you can see, these mushrooms aren't in perfect shape. I mean, they're far from bad or anything, but they're not about to win any mushroom beauty contests either, which makes them absolutely ideal for soup, because they're going to get blitzed up anyway. They may not look like it, but they've already been scrubbed, so I'm just going to get started chopping them up, because that'll take longest to prep. As you can see, I'm cutting them into fairly big slices. I'm going to be browning them pretty good, so leaving them a little thick means I'll be able to get them nice and dark on the outside, while inside they'll remain nice and bouncy, for lack of a better adjective. I was actually intending to do this recipe a week ago, but as happens around Christmas time, schedules got crossed, time ran short, and here we are. That's why my mushrooms aren't super photogenic, because they've been in the fridge waiting for several days. But as I said, they're fine for soup. And if you don't believe me, J. Kenji Lopez Alt actually has a mushroom soup recipe which also uses Pasteur Prime fungi. You can look it up. Before I forget, I'm going to take the prettiest mushroom and cut it into nice fine slices. You'll see why a little later. Alright, I'm going to keep chugging here. I'll catch you again once these are finished. And done. Alright, let's get to the accoutrements for the soup. I've got a shallot here, which I'll chop up. It doesn't have to be pretty or precise. Like the mushrooms, it's going to get blitzed. If you like your mushroom soup with a more pronounced onion flavor, then just swap in an onion. Next, some garlic, also roughly chopped. Now for the supporting cast. First up, some better than bouillon, because I don't have any homemade chicken stock on hand. Many years ago, I used to take nighttime cooking classes at the Culinary Institute downtown. One of the chefs there recommended this to me. Not that she'd ever use this in a restaurant, but for quick and dirty home use, it's more than fine. Next up, some heavy cream, because this is going to be a cream of mushroom soup. And finally, 8 thyme sprigs. Yes, I counted them. That'll be important later. Oh, I almost forgot the brandy. You can swap in vermouth or even white wine if you like, but I'm going with brandy. Alright, this starts the way you probably expect it to start, with some unsalted butter in a pot, to which I'll also add a good splash of extra virgin olive oil. I said a good splash. That's better. Once everything's nice and melty, I'll dump in the mushrooms. Got a stray. And another one. Then it's in with a bit of salt. That'll help the mushrooms sweat. And yes, you want sweaty mushrooms. Now it's time to stir and get the mushrooms coated in all that delicious fat. It'll take about 12 to 15 minutes for these to get nice and brown. I don't have to fiddle with them too much. Just stir them occasionally to make sure they don't burn. Okay, it's been about 4 minutes, and I just want to show you guys where the mushrooms are at. See all that liquid coming out of them? That has to boil off before the shrooms can really start browning. So we've got a ways to go. It's been about 12 minutes, and you can see the bottom of the pot is pretty dry. So my mushrooms are frying. A lot of recipes will advise you to stop frying at this point. But I'm going to keep going because I want a little caramelization. That's why I cut the mushrooms a little thicker, so they can take the extra cooking. We're now 16 minutes in, and my mushrooms are deeply browned. That's going to bring a ton of flavor. Now I can go in with a shallot. I'll give them a minute to soften a bit. And now the garlic. Again, about a minute. Maybe less. We don't want it to burn. Time for booze. I'm going to free pour about a quarter cup of brandy into the pot. Honestly, when I make soup, I hardly ever measure anything, so every pot is slightly different, but always delicious. Anyway, it only takes a moment for all that alcohol to evaporate. Now I can add my 8 thyme sprigs. 8. Remember, that's an important number. And now some cold water. If I had stock, this would be stock. A good bit of freshly cracked black pepper. I love black pepper in mushroom soup. Now it just has to come to a simmer. My soup's bubbling nicely, so I can add the bouillon paste. In it goes. And finally, when is a cover not a cover? When it's a jar. I'll turn the heat down a bit and let this simmer for about half an hour. While the soup cooks, I'll get the garnish ready. That starts with butter in a nice hot pan. Oh, this may be a bit too hot. Gotta work fast here. In go the thinly cut mushrooms. I'll spread them around and let them fry. This part should only take a few minutes. Okay, these can come out. It's been 25 minutes and the soup's looking good. I'm gonna let it simmer the last 5 minutes without the lid so it can reduce a bit. Alright, remember the 8 thyme sprigs I put in there? It's time to take them out. So, now the fun part. It's time to blitz. I'd say that's about right. Time to move on. My soup's reduced, and it's about where I like it. Oh, missed a shroom. Okay, you can come out. Anyway, like I was saying, this is about the consistency I like. Time to add the last ingredient. I'll add the cream a tablespoon at a time. I'll start with 2 and work that in. How much cream you add is really up to you. It depends how creamy you like it. Adding cream, of course, adds richness, but it'll also tone down the flavor of the mushrooms. So it's a trade-off. I think I'll add a couple more splashes. I don't want to overdo it, or I might aggravate the old dairy allergy. I'm going to live dangerously and add 2 more splashes, and that should do it. Time for a taste. Not bad, but it needs a little more salt. And a couple more grinds of black pepper. I'll work it in and let the soup simmer a final minute, then it should be good to go. And here it is, piping hot from the stove, my cream of mushroom soup. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see the next part. To finish this thing, I'll lay a few pieces of sauteed mushroom on top, using the chef tongs that my wife bought me a couple of Christmases ago, that I'm just using for the first time. Totally worth it, because this is looking really pretty. And bam! Homemade cream of mushroom soup. I've got some thyme left for thyme, may as well sprinkle it on and make it look even prettier. Bet you didn't think ugly mushrooms could look this good, did you? Thanks for watching. This will probably be the last video I post until New Year. I've got in-laws coming, and I'm going to lose my kitchen to my wife's Christmas baking. So I want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. If you have any comments or suggestions for what soup you'd like to see next, drop them below. Otherwise, I'll see you in 2024.